when he paid, he left to go to the bathroom. And so I peeked at the bill and it was like $800.
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like, that sounds about right. But I was like, this is very interesting for a man who he's just like, okay, I don't know who you are. I'm just going to have an enjoyable time while I'm out of town with this woman I just met and drop $800 on a meal. Sure. Like, may never see her again. That's nothing to me.
Welcome to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Here's your host, Marcus.
Welcome to another episode of Secrets of a Sugar Daddy, the #1 sugar dating podcast in Chicago and the rest of the world, where we pull back the curtains on the good and the bad. And Lily?
The sunshiny.
The sunshiny. No, the shocking stories.
Oh, I'm just
sugar
so
dating.
happy that the sun is shining and it's warm because last episode I was freezing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. You did it remotely.
I did it remotely
you had some
and I
family
was
issues.
worried because it was pounding rain on the window by where I was sitting. I was like, I hope that's not picking up on the audio, but I don't think it did.
Well, we try to make these episodes timeless, but let's just say we are recording in the sunny sunshine of Scottsdale, Arizona. It's 75 degrees today, and I think the rest of the country is under a weather advisory below zero.
Yeah.
So I like being in Scottsdale, Arizona. If you ever want to come visit, look us up. Come be on the show too, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So, have we talked since you got back from Curacao?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
We
Last episode.
talked about it a little bit on the last episode, and you said the same timeless quote. As I just edited that this morning.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we've talked a little bit, but not a lot.
So before we get to our guest, I've got to talk about these boots. I wish you guys could see these boots. They are, okay, they're boots, but they don't go all the way up, right? They're kind of
they're short boots.
Short boots. They're bedazzled with ocean blue, ocean green.
I'm peacocking today.
I mean, I was telling Lily, my grandmother used to collect owls, and she had owls everywhere in her house, and she had one bedazzled with that color. So
A peacock-colored owl?
And you say you got those on Amazon?
I sure did.
You knew your size, you saw them,
Okay, well,
came right to your door.
you've seen the red ones, right?
Yeah.
And I love the red ones, and they're pretty damn comfortable, and they're also eye-catching, so I looked to see what other colors there were, and there was this really pretty aqua blue. I'm like, I must possess those.
So the first time I met Lily, we went out on the town. I think we went to Costco or we were shopping or something. She's a fun first date. Anyway.
Oh, yes.
She wore these red bedazzled boots.
Yeah.
And I wore a Dallas Cowboys hat. And I made a bet with her to see who would get a comment first. Because I always get comments about my boys. And she always gets comments about her boots.
I'm surprised you even want to talk about the boys today.
Well, life moves on. But anyway, I lost. Lily got a comment about her boots long before anybody said anything to me.
Oh, goodness. I'm famous for my bedazzled boots.
Yes, you are.
It's my trademark.
Well, we have a guest today. She's been on before. She was on episode 114. She was the Chicago Submissive Sugar Baby. And that episode, I don't know because maybe the title, but we loaded it up on YouTube. And then I also looked at the stats on the downloads. Yeah, it was well received.
Very popular.
For a while, it was our #1 episode. Now, there have been a few that have surpassed it, but it really took off. So welcome back, Alaina from Chicago.
The beautiful Alaina.
How are
The
you?
freezing Alaina right now in Chicago.
What is
Yeah.
it? What is it today in Chicago?
Today it's much warmer with a beautiful 24 degrees.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, not going to do it. Hey, so Alaina came to our party. Let's get a little caught up with your thoughts about that. We haven't talked to you since then. We've group chatted, but what were your thoughts? We flew you down here because you were on our show. You did a great episode. We said, hey, come back to our party. We'll pay for your air flight. And you stayed in a house full of Chicago people.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for flying me down, for inviting me. That was one of the best trips I've ever had. I think one of the highlights of 2023 for me. And I think similar to what Victoria was saying, none of us really knew what to expect and how this would go. And there's that kind of underlying fear of a group of women together, especially in this lifestyle. How is everyone going to behave? And surprisingly, everyone was so nice, and it had this feeling of a group of people reuniting after not seeing each other for a long time. It was immediate friendships, immediate connections. Everyone was so nice. And it was fun to be in the Chicago house and hang out with Short King and his fiance, and then one of our new friends. And yeah, we had such a great time. I enjoyed every second. And I think everyone came in with an open mind. And that really made the difference of having this experience be a fantastic one for everyone.
Oh,
Yeah.
and the pictures from the Chicago house. The Chicago house was officially the party house
Yeah.
of the weekend.
It seemed to be. So what the Chicago house was, we put the winners and the people traveling from out of state and out of city in Airbnbs. And we had 4 people from Chicago. And I had an Airbnb that would accommodate them. So we just said, hey, let's just stick all of them in this one house. So it became the Chicago house.
And Short King is quite the mixologist. So on the first night, he made sure to go to the grocery store and come back with loads and loads of alcohol to make any drink that you could think of. So first night, the entire counter's filled with any type of anything that could make mixed drinks. And we send a picture to Lily and Marcus. We're like, hey, look what's happening over here.
Yeah. So you turned us on to Short King and his fiance. They were like last minute additions. They sent in their application or to the party very last minute. We did not have room for them, but he ended up becoming a sponsor. It allowed us to purchase an additional half a suite, invited 8 more people than we had anticipated. And wow, what a dynamic that he added to. I can't even get over how a 5'4" little nothing actually just exploded the party.
That's how it is everywhere he goes. I've introduced him to another person I've met on Seeking, my Dom, and he's made quite the impression with him and that group that we can talk about. But he is kind of the life of the party, and he just has that energy anywhere he goes. That's just who he is. And I think that's what attracted me to him and wanted me to get to know him a little more and engage in an arrangement with him. But outside of that, getting to know him, that's just who he is.
Right.
So I'm glad that he was able to make it and that worked out, because I think it set up the party with a certain type of energy and direction.
Oh, he is larger than life, not a shy bone in his body. So much confidence.
I could sit there and watch
so
him.
much energy.
I could sit there and watch him dance on the pole all day. I mean,
Oh,
he's got with the whole hat thing, and yeah, he made moves I wish I knew how to make.
He's got the moves like Jagger.
Yeah, he did.
Oh yeah.
He wasn't afraid to show them.
I love the picture of the shortest sugar daddy with the tallest sugar
yeah,
baby.
yeah,
I
that
think
was
that
fun.
needs to go on the Patreon with their faces covered, but that was fantastic.
Yeah, let's load that up.
Okay.
You have that one, don't you?
I think so.
Okay, we'll throw that on Patreon. So it's a fun little picture of Short King at 5'4" and Victoria at what, 5'11", and then I think she had heels on. So there's quite a difference in height. Like he's literally under her arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll load that on Patreon.
That was adorable.
Well, there you go. There's another reason to become a VIP supporter of the show. Go to patreon.com/Secrets of a Sugar Daddy podcast. And we are loading up episodes before they release. So there's one benefit that you get. You get to hear the entire episode before anybody else. And then we're also loading up some other good stuff, maybe some of these pictures that nobody else has seen except people from the party. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's only $10 a month, helps support the show. And then we're also going to be throwing another party soon. And Alaina just told you how much fun it is. So I'm sure she recommends applying for that. And we will contact the VIP members first and let you have first opportunity at the next party. Right, Lily?
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah. Well, the party would have been fun anyway. But yeah, including Short King and his fiance and the whole Chicago house gave it a dynamic that was just unlike any other.
If everyone in Chicago is that fun, I think I need to make a trip there, but not when it's so freezing.
Hey, what do you think? Here, I was bouncing this idea around. Now, don't hold us to this. What do you think if we had a party in Las Vegas? There's so much good concerts and shows and activities there. There's great places to meet.
That would be fun.
I know. I was thinking about that.
I would be down.
Because I'm looking at
Trucker likes Vegas.
our current concert list, and we've got Madonna coming up. That comes up here just in a couple months. You know who announced in July?
Who?
Janet Jackson and Nelly.
What?
Yeah, that just announced at that same Footprint Center. I think it's like July 30th.
You know
or
who's
somewhere
coming
in there.
this weekend? And we almost went, but tickets are astronomical right now.
Who's that?
The Eagles.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Trucker kind of wanted to do that for his birthday. His birthday's Saturday.
Oh, happy birthday, Trucker.
Yeah.
Anyway, Alaina, sorry. We got off track. Now, what have you been doing since? Because this was a couple months ago that we saw you.
Yeah, so it's been a whirlwind since my first episode and then since the party. And speaking of traveling to Chicago, Victoria actually came to Chicago
We
this
saw
past weekend.
photographic evidence of that.
And videographic evidence of that. It looks like you guys were having the best time.
It was so much fun. I think so. We were trying to plan, Molly and I, well, Molly specifically, and she looped me in. We were trying to plan a surprise party for Short King for his birthday before he left on a month-long retreat. So now he's on the other end of the world, and we won't have any connection with him or communication for a month. This is what he committed to do. So we wanted to get people together, and I was looping in his other sugar babies and other women that we knew, trying to keep it a surprise. Somebody kind of ruined it, and he on his own was planning to bring Victoria over to visit that weekend anyway. So I reached out to her, looped her in, and it worked out perfectly. So she flew in on Friday. I met up with them for a drink and for dinner, and we just hung out. We were catching up and reminiscing about the party. And then she took a ballet class with me Saturday morning. And it was just fun to have a friend and to be able to introduce her to my life here and show her around, make some new connections, and then spend time with our friends and introduce her to all of Short King's friends.
So
we had a really
Victoria-
fun time.
Yeah, but just to let you know who Victoria is for those people who are just catching up. Victoria came to our party. She didn't know anybody. She's a tall dancer from Utah. And again, she was the life of the party too. Without her and Short King, I can't even imagine how that party would have gone, right, Lily?
It would have been a different dynamic for sure. How did she enjoy Chicago weather?
Well, being in Utah, she's used to the cold.
Oh,
so, it wasn't too shocking for her, but she loved Chicago. Just being in downtown in the area that Short King lives, it was a really nice central spot for her to be and explore. I took her to get her first deep dish Chicago style pizza.
Oh, I
that
saw
looks so
that.
good.
Enjoy that. But she really liked it. It was fun. I'm hoping she can plan more visits, and there's more opportunities for everybody who stayed connected through that party to visit each other. I'm actually planning to go to New York the second week in March to see a flamenco dance company that is flying in from Spain. And I reached out to Blue Eyed Princess to see how far is she from that area, and maybe we can meet up. And I know there was one other sugar baby from New York as well. So hopefully we can connect that way and just grab dinner or a drink and enjoy an event together. So I'm really grateful for that party because I was planning to go alone to New York. Nobody else was available. But now I have a couple people I can reach out to and at least have some company while I'm there.
Fun.
When do you plan on going to New York?
March 8th, that weekend, like
Okay.
a Friday through Sunday trip.
So a couple months away. Boy, that
Yeah.
would be great. I think at that time of the year, it's, spring is getting close. They're starting to see a little bit of good weather in that area. Have you been to New York before?
Oh, tons of times.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
I haven't been in a while, so I'm looking forward to going back and just enjoying the general atmosphere and energy that New York has.
Yeah.
Kimmy and I went to New York together.
Oh, yes, you
We had
did.
so much fun.
Oh, yes,
we got
you
into
did.
so much trouble. It was excellent. I think it was in February. It was quite cold.
All right. So, Alaina, I hear that you've met somebody and he may be taking you to Hawaii.
Yes, I actually
us
just
about that.
confirmed this trip. So essentially, through Short King, I met this girl, somebody he has an arrangement with at a group dinner. I'll call her T. And her and I kind of hit it off. And then separately, I had connected with somebody from Seeking. I'll call him my Dom. And he is very well connected in Chicago with a lot of lifestyle, swinger communities, people, or kink and BDSM. So he had invited me to meet several people in his small group or large group of friends. So he brought me to a couples play session where I met this man, and we'll call him Maui, who essentially then is now taking me to Maui. So I met him with another woman, and we had a great time at that play session, as we'll call it. And then Dom threw a party, and in comes T, and in comes Maui. And they had a previous arrangement and now have a friendship that has formed as a result. So it was interesting, this small little community that everyone knows each other. And then Maui was quite taken with me and expressed that he wanted to get to know me and he was very interested in me. So we've spent a couple dates together, and strangely enough, we live very close to each other as well. It's like a 10-minute drive. So that was fun to learn. And so he expressed he has a business trip to Maui. He would love to take me. He always likes to bring a guest, but he didn't feel comfortable taking other women in his life because they're a little younger. And because it's a business trip, he wants somebody who represents him well and is mature enough to kind of have these conversations with his colleagues or his clients. So I was very flattered that he chose me. And I looked at my schedule, and since he's friends with two people that I met through this community and through Seeking, I felt very comfortable going. And I thought, why not? This is a all expense paid trip. I enjoy spending time with him, and I'm looking forward to getting to know him a little more before the trip. And hopefully I can call him a friend, when all is said and done. So I said, yeah, I'm all in. Let's do this. And he was very accommodating and let me know that if for any reason I needed to cancel or I wasn't comfortable for any reason, I could, not go, cancel the trip. And he expressed there's no expectations, like sexually or physically. He just wanted to spend time with me and wanted to, have me enjoy this experience. So I appreciated that he was very accommodating and open with that. But yeah, I didn't meet him on Seeking. I met him through somebody I met. So it was a kind of meeting somebody in the wild, but through this very small, in the know community.
Right.
I have so many questions.
Yeah, go ahead. I do too. So go ahead.
Okay. How much time have you spent with this guy?
So I've gone on 3 dates with him.
Have you been intimate?
Yes.
How was it?
Oh, you hesitated. Oh my God.
Is he a dom?
He's not a dom, like officially in terms of the play dynamic. He's more dominant in the bedroom in terms of he wants to have a little bit more of the control. And I would say more puts on the masculine role. Not to embarrass him, because maybe he'll listen to this episode, but he just expressed he was very nervous with me. So if you're not mentally engaged or your thoughts are somewhere else, even for men or women, right, that's going to make things not ideal or difficult to happen. But I'm very understanding, and it doesn't need to go a certain way. There's other ways we can have fun and enjoy each other. And listening to the last podcast episode with Lee, I was like, oh, I really liked what she was saying, and kind of realized some of those things on my own. Like, let's not rush it. Let's just enjoy each other. Let's just do some light rubbing, some slowing down. And half the time that's what gets you going. So, but there is a nice connection there. He makes me feel very, very good. He makes me feel very beautiful. I like the way he looks at me. And that's something I've noticed about men, the men that I have met on Seeking recently and have engaged with in arrangements. They just look at me like I'm the most beautiful thing that they've ever seen. And they value the things I have to say and value our time together. And that makes all the difference. It doesn't matter if you're throwing hundreds of dollars at me for a date. If you're not treating me well, and if I don't feel special when I'm with you, like feel like the woman I want to feel, then I'm not going to continue seeing you.
100%. I totally agree. That's the most important element for me as well. Okay, more questions. So is this a compensated trip? Is it just an all expense paid trip, or is he compensating you for like time lost at work?
It's just an all expense paid trip. It's not an arrangement. It wasn't set up that way between us. And I'm fine with that because I have my other arrangements, but also it just didn't feel right when we were setting things up and when we were interacting and discussing what we wanted this to be. That he is experienced in arrangements. He does have a sugar baby that he helps financially. And so he has that going, but I just didn't engage that way with him. It didn't feel right, So I was like, I'm happy with just the trip. He offered a lot of He'll pay for everything. He'll give me money to go shopping while I'm there, but I'm not being compensated for my time.
Nice. And how many days is the trip?
It's 7 days, I think.
Oh, goodness. This is a
Yes.
full-on commitment, girl.
It is.
My fingers
Yes.
are crossed that it's a wonderful experience because it can go either way. I've had trips where things went swimmingly, and I've had trips where I wanted to drown the guy before the trip was over, or myself. Either or, maybe both.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes, but I think it is important. You have to know a little bit about them. And so that's why we're kind of maintaining a once a week date just to continue to get to know each other. And I did sleep over his house once as like a test for Maui. If we're going to be in the same hotel room together for X amount of days. And, we kind of joked, we're like, oh, we might hear each other fart or something in the middle of the night or hear each other go to the bathroom. And that's kind of uncomfortable if you're not in this stable or committed relationship, right? You kind of always want to put your best foot forward to somebody. We're like, well, we're going to see each other first thing in the morning. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully no one gets sick. But from what I know about him and my intuition and how I feel about him so far, I think he's a good person to travel with. And I don't feel like this will be an issue.
I get the feeling Alaina's pretty easy to travel with.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
She's so easy to get along with. And
Feels
she's
like it.
beautiful and well-spoken. So you'll do great. What was the age dynamic between the two of you? Because you said you're age appropriate.
He's about 20 years older than me.
Okay.
So he's like 56, 57. And I think the other women he's seeing are in their 20s.
Right.
So he didn't want to bring them to certain things.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why Podcast Fanboy took me to Europe with him as opposed to one of his other sugar babies is because I was much more age appropriate and it was a trip with his children. And so he wanted it to feel comfortable for them and not awkward. So, yeah. I get
laugh
it.
when he says age appropriate, and I'm like, I'm still 20 years younger than you.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned Lee Jagger. You heard the episode. We just had her on, I think it was 132. She was from San Diego, and she has this course on how to pleasure a man. What'd you think of that episode?
I loved it. And I think it's important. A lot of the things that she was saying about a woman's confidence coming from a certain place, I very much identified with that. Because I felt when I first started engaging in sex, I have no idea what to do. And then you're just kind of there hoping that you remember something you saw in a movie or read in a magazine or something your friend told you. And it's very uncomfortable to ask the other person, what do you want? And some people don't want to do that. They want to seem like they already know. Like, I have so much experience. So I very much felt and identified with that. And through my own exploration, I was like, no, I need to ask people what they want. And then to her point, what worked for one guy doesn't work for the other. So I always like to ask, how do you like it? What do you want? Or I'm going to try something. And I think the comfort level between two people engaging in any sexual activity, that open communication and being honest with each other really makes the difference in the pleasure and enjoyment of that experience. So I want to look up her course, and I definitely want to check out more.
Well, when we recorded that episode, Lily and I looked at each other. We're like, I think this might be our new favorite episode.
Yeah.
It was so fun. She was so
100%.
energetic, and she was so knowledgeable. Because, I mean, she touched over 2,000 pickles. Anyway, I just, as we were editing it, Lily's like, oh my God, this episode is so good. And
I
then,
knew it was going to be popular.
yeah, so if you haven't heard it yet, it's episode, I think 132, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And,
132.
It's Lee Jagger on there. And then I also have a question for you about, let's go back and touch on this BDSM side. You have some experience with that. You listened to our episode with Alejandra and her unfortunate BDSM experience. Can you weigh in on that a little bit? I just haven't had enough experience to really where I feel like my opinion is too valid on things or educated on this. So what is your experience and what did you think of that episode with Alejandra?
I thought it was very brave of her to go on and share that experience, but it's also very important for anybody new exploring to understand that that is not the right type of experience for anybody new, or really, in my opinion, anybody in general who's involved in BDSM. To what Amy was saying, there's a lot of care and attention that should be paid and a lot more conversation and communication that should be had before anybody engages in that type of play session or dynamic. So it was a little disappointing to hear that somebody was not taking care of their sub and not asking the right questions. For me, when I first get to meet somebody, if they do not ask me what my boundaries are right away, I know that that's not somebody I want to engage with. That should be the first conversation or the first topic that is brought up when you are talking with somebody who is identifying as a dom and you are identifying as a sub. And I always like to ask the doms what their boundaries are as well. A lot of people think it goes one way, but I feel like it's very much both ways, because if I'm asking the dom to do something that they're not comfortable with, I want to be respectful of that as well and allow them that opportunity so they know I'm legitimate and care about this experience. I'm glad that it was shared, and anybody who does engage, like, kind of do some homework or reach out to somebody. There's a lot of forums, there's a lot of websites you can go on to educate yourself. But basically, I agree with Amy. He was irresponsible in, being with somebody who was a newbie. Even if somebody says they're experienced, the doms I've engaged with, when I've explained I have experience, they still ask me those questions. Like, what are your boundaries? What are your hard limits? And then always asking what their safe word or what their stop method is. A lot of people will use the stoplight method, with yellow is I'm kind of hitting my limit or I need a break, and then red is complete stop. Mm-hmm. So, it was a little disappointing that she had that experience, but I hope that with that, she knows that that's not what it's like, and that I hope she is open to experiencing that with the right person. So thank you so much for engaging that conversation with her. And I sent her a separate message just thanking her, because it's a very sensitive topic, and from what she went through, that could be very off-putting and embarrassing, and you just kind of hide it, and that could cause some other, psychological or emotional issues if you're holding that in. So I'm happy that she has people she can share it with, and so grateful that Amy is there as a resource for you guys, because
Yeah.
her stepping in and explaining some of those things, I was even learning something through that episode. So thank you so much for doing that episode.
Amy is she's a very interesting person. Now, you got to meet her at the party. What were your thoughts of Amy?
Oh, she's so cute. I was so happy to meet her and just be in the same room with her, having listened to all of the episodes. But I also wanted to be respectful and not just go up to her face and be like, oh my God, you're so amazing. I just want to talk to you and be your best friend all the time. Mm-hmm. But it was just nice to see her there and enjoying herself. And I'm glad that she decided to join us for the party and the concert. That was a really nice surprise. Just having her in the room, I think, changed the energy as well. It just added to it.
Well, you got to see both sides of her, because she showed up at the party in a flannel and a ball cap, almost incognito, just didn't really want to say anything. And then she had I think she smoked a joint or something and had a couple drinks.
Well, that's usually the Amy you get, is super casual. I don't wear much makeup, if any at all. And I just dress down. I don't flaunt my body. Don't dress sexy. And then when sexy Amy comes out of the closet,
oh my goodness,
watch out. Oh man.
So you got to see her at the party all dressed up, and when she got on the bus, people were like, who's this? They didn't even know who it was.
Where'd this girl come from?
Yeah, completely
She's
different.
Beautiful. If she told me to get down on my knees in front of her, I absolutely would.
Well, she tried that shit on me. I was like, what? Get on your knees.
Okay, so that would be interesting, because Amy's an experienced dom, you're an experienced sub. Do you play very often those roles with other females?
I haven't, but actually through the dom that I met on Seeking, I met a woman at one of the parties he throws, and she got dominant with me. And I was like, wow, I've never experienced that before. And it was very much just kind of being very firm, and she turned on more of her masculine energy and she started to play with me, and I had never experienced that, but I really enjoyed it. And I think it was how she approached it. And then her and I became instant friends afterwards. She expressed that she didn't have a lot of friends who were into any type of kink or this lifestyle, and so she wanted somebody to be able to talk to and share her experiences with. And so we just became instant friends. But we joke oh, I could do some of this with her. We could practice on each other. And then at a separate party, I don't really identify as bisexual, but perhaps I'm biflexible or curious, because I don't mind playing with the woman in the context of a threesome or a play party or a group setting. So we were at another party and she was there, and she ate me out, I ate her out, and it was more of just a fun experience. And then afterwards we were was that okay? Like, did I do it well? Were you enjoying it? And I think that's funny between women. We're like, I don't know if I was doing a good job. And we're very reassuring, like, no, I loved it. It was great. It was felt fantastic. Like, you have to share your technique with me. But I'm very interested to actually have a female dom dominate me and have a play session with her. I wonder what it would be like, because I've always had those sessions with sex be a component of it. And I know there's a lot of dom sub sessions that don't have any sex. It really is just the dominating nature of it. So there doesn't need to be a sexual component. So it would be interesting to have that with a woman, with or without sex. I'd be interested in exploring that.
Hey, so reflecting back on when you were down in Scottsdale and you were on our episode the first time, you actually met a sugar daddy in the wild, and he took you to Cafe Monarch. How did you convince him to do that?
I didn't have to do much convincing. And I will say that I'm very careful about how I go about asking for things. So I met this man while I was having dinner at the bar of a restaurant. We both realized we're visiting from out of town and didn't know anybody else while we were here. So he invited me to dinner. I really wanted to go to Cafe Monarch and have that experience, but I wasn't sure if that's within his budget, if he thought maybe I would be taking advantage of him if I suggest that. So when he asked me to pick out a restaurant, I provided 3 options. I said, Cafe Monarch comes highly recommended. Everybody I know says that we should go, but it is kind of pricey, so I want to be sensitive to that. And then I offered him 2 other options that were also highly rated and highly, what's the word?
Recommended.
Recommended, thank you. And he goes, no, I want to take you to where you want to go. I'll take you to Cafe Monarch. They happen to have a reservation. And so he booked it and we went. So I really didn't need to do much convincing, but I think because I was offering and being sensitive to, I don't know if he's willing to spend this amount on a dinner with a stranger he just met, for a couple of hours beforehand, I wanted to be sensitive of that. And I would have enjoyed the date had we gone somewhere else, but I'm really happy that he picked Cafe Monarch.
Okay, so Chicago has a lot of great restaurants.
Yeah.
What did you think of Cafe Monarch?
Oh, I loved it. That place was amazing. I have never been to a place like that. The service was second to none. I had, the sommelier was just full of knowledge. And at one point I was like, okay, dude, I just want to know what wine is going to pair well with the pork that I want to order.
They have a huge
But
wine
I love
list,
that you are so passionate about this and you know everything. Like, this is what you were born to do. And I want to let you get through your spiel, but also just pick one for me.
I know. Me not knowing much about wines, it can be a little much for me.
Yeah, I didn't know anything. And the guy let me pick the wine too. And it was such a lovely date. Oh, we tried the espresso martinis as well. So thank you, Marcus, for that recommendation. He's like, you have to try those.
Yep.
And we went to the bar, what's across the street that you mentioned a couple times.
The Beverly.
Yes. So we went there for drinks beforehand. And it was just a really lovely night. I really enjoyed it. And I'm happy that he selected that. And then when he paid, he left to go to the bathroom. And so I peeked at the bill and it was like $800.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. Yeah, I was like, that sounds about right. But I was like, this is very interesting for a man who, he's just like, okay, I don't know who you are. I'm just going to have an enjoyable time while I'm out of town with this woman I just met and drop $800 on a meal. Sure. Like, may never see her again. That's nothing to me.
Do you still hear from him?
No, he kind of ghosted.
Aw.
We kept in contact for a little bit afterwards, and it was surprising to me because he expressed that he did want to see me again. We were trying to figure out our work travel schedules to see if we could meet up in another city and, go out there. And when we realized that it would be months before that could happen, he said he wanted to come to Chicago and see me. He couldn't wait 3 months. So I said, okay, let's figure out dates that would work. And then he just stopped responding to my messages. So I said, okay, don't know what's going on in your life, but I'm glad that I had that memory and that wonderful date, and we'll see what happens.
When are you coming back to Arizona?
I would love to. I don't know. Whenever the next party is.
Okay. I just didn't know if you had any work things down in our neck of the woods.
Not yet, but I'm hoping anytime if I get my hands across any work trip that's in there, I'm going to be the first one to sign up for it.
Okay. What industry is Maui in? I'm just curious.
I will say the alcohol industry.
Okay. That's a fun industry.
Very fun. Every time we go to Chicago, he knows everybody who works in the kitchen. He knows who their distributors are. He knows the places to go. So it's a lot of fun to hang out with him because I never need to look up what's the hot new place. He's like, let's go here. they have this type of alcohol, or they just opened up, or they're doing, I was like, that sounds great to me because I don't know any of this.
Have you been to Hawaii?
Never.
Oh
It's
my
been on my
goodness.
list.
You're going to love it.
I went a year ago this month. Actually, all the memories are popping up. You were here, this place last year, and it was as magical as an experience as I dreamed it would be. Even as a little kid, I remember this is back in the 80s, and this was when wallpaper was big, and my parents were wallpapering our new house, and they said, "What do you want on your bedroom wall?" And I picked out this mural, and it was a sun setting on a beach with a palm tree in the background, the ocean. I used to look at that picture every day. It's in my bedroom. I'd wake up and look at that picture and just dream of being there one day. And I never made it to Hawaii until I was 54 years old. I should have
I don't
gone a
know
lot
when else I
earlier.
would, make it over there. And I haven't been on a true vacation in years. So I'm so excited for this to just be enjoyment, have fun, relax. I definitely need relax. It's been a lot in the past couple months in my life. So very much looking forward to that trip.
Yeah. Do you hike at all?
I do enjoy it when the weather's nice enough, or I'm in a place
Well,
that
I was going to say there's a lot of great hiking in Hawaii. It's one of the big things there. And
Waterfalls, that's my favorite.
see, I wasn't much of a hiker, but Alejandra loves it. So I'm like traipsing along behind her and I'm wearing myself out, but I don't regret it. I mean, we got some of the most spectacular views and just some great, great memories from hiking through, some of these trails that they have there in Hawaii. So I would recommend that. And then, of course, all your beach time.
Yes, you'll have to send me some recommendations
Yeah.
of either hiking trails or
Well, we went
restaurants.
to
things.
Honolulu area, so we were not in Maui. We were
Okay.
at Waikiki Beach, but they're all over the internet. You know where she got all of her recommendations and all that from? TikTok.
Yeah. My
She-
daughter's the same.
Yeah, she goes on TikTok, types in that stuff, and then she'll send them to me, and she's like, "Okay, we're gonna go this place, and here's why," and she'll send me all these videos from TikTok.
Yeah, we're trying to plan a little girls' trip with my daughter and her best friend, who's like my second daughter, and they keep sending me TikTok videos of
Yeah,
ideas of where
yeah.
we could go.
It's great too for like even local things. People have TikTok channels where they'll critique bars or do previews of new and upcoming bars in the city. I mean, I'm sure they have them in Chicago, and they have great ones here in downtown Phoenix, Scottsdale, and all around. So I see these TikTok videos of like, oh my God, I never even knew that existed. Some underground bar has one red light on the street and only, one entrance in the alley. And, it's like really cool stuff that I never knew about. So I guess that's a good resource.
So
I'm
what else?
resisting downloading TikTok just because it seems a little annoying to me, but my sister's always sending me TikToks, and then for the recommendations of places in your city or when you're traveling,
Yeah.
it would be useful. So I'll just need to get the algorithm going for travel and
Yeah.
place recommendations versus
Oh, it catches on really quick.
Yeah.
Their algorithms catch on very quickly once you start typing in stuff and watching things. It's a little scary, but they seem to know you better than you know you.
Okay, are you still on Seeking?
I am, but I haven't really been on as much because I kind of have a full roster, as I like to call it, and I just don't have time to really see anybody else. And it's been so busy with social things the past 2 to 3 months that I kind of just need a break and I need to spend some time alone. But because the men that I'm with, I don't see very often, it would be nice to have a regular, arrangement or somebody that I see once a week that's pretty stable. So I would still like to see that. And I'm kind of opening up myself to a relationship. I would like to eventually fall in love and get married one day or have a lifelong committed partner. So I feel myself going in that direction. And I feel like as far as I am in this lifestyle, Seeking would probably be the place to find that right partner who would understand either what I already have going on and what I want to maintain in terms of the men that I have, or they're not going to be upset or surprised or judge my past that I have engaged in this lifestyle. So it's kind of set me up in a way that, all right, moving forward, I need to find somebody who's at a certain level and certain understanding, a certain lifestyle. Otherwise, I can't imagine finding somebody else who's civilian vanilla and then explaining what I've been doing or the things that I've experienced and that not having an impact on our relationship or how they view me moving forward. So
Yeah, that could be
a
an
little bit
issue,
of a
yeah.
challenge,
Mhm.
but we'll see.
So you're working full time, right?
Yes.
And do you depend on the money that you get from sugar dating, or you just use it as extra fun, put in the bank? What do you do?
Yeah, just use it for extra fun. So
Okay.
I think in the first podcast, I said I was saving up for LASIK. So I finally
Oh, yeah.
got enough and had LASIK, which I love. It's amazing.
Yes.
When did you get that done?
End of November, like right after the party.
Really? And how did it
Yes.
go?
Oh, it was amazing. It's super scary, right?
Yeah.
Because here's this giant thing coming towards your eye, and
You can hear it.
yes,
Like
you
the
can hear
laser.
it.
Zzz. You're like, oh
Yeah.
God, oh God.
You had it done?
Oh,
Lily?
yeah. I had it done when I was much younger, decades ago.
What they don't tell you is that there's a little bit of a smell. It's not terrible, but
Like
it's just something
The
surprising.
the
Like nobody
burning
warned me
flesh
about it.
smell.
Burning eyeball,
Burning.
burning retina.
Yeah.
Yes. But it is strange how immediate the after effect is. Like you look at the clock and you're like, oh, I can see. So, without the support of sugar daddies, it would have just taken me a little longer to save up on my own,
Mhm.
or I just would have, put it on a credit card and then pay it off, as I can. So I was grateful for that. And then I finally am done remodeling my bathroom. And that was also with the assistance of arrangement money that I've gotten. And one of my arrangements is actually an architect. So he was giving me suggestions on what I could do, sharing some resources. He's like, I have some people in Chicago that if you ever need this, they can come and set that up for you or remodel that for you, whatever. So that's also fun as well.
Nice.
When you say your roster's a little full, explain full. How many are we juggling here?
So I've got 5 guys that I can.
Oh,
Like the restaurant,
have you ever had 5 guys?
like the burger joint.
Yeah,
5
it's
guys.
5 guys. But, Short King's now gone for a month, so I won't see him for a while.
Okay, let's backtrack on that. He's engaged to Molly,
Yes.
and she's good with this?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure a conversation needs to happen. I don't know what happens behind closed doors. I don't know what conversations.
Well, in his
are
episode
set
with
up.
her, they did admit it's not just sunshine and roses at all times. There are some difficulties.
Yes. I mean, I'm only privy to what people share or what I see, but out of respect for their relationship too, if I've seen, maybe a conversation go in a certain direction, I'm like, I'm just going to go in the other room because I don't want to see this. I just want to give them their privacy. But I think in any relationship, it's going to be difficult if you don't have the right communication, if you're not aligned with what your values are, or why you're doing certain things. And just being open in general requires a certain level of communication and honesty, and then actually knowing about it and meeting the other people in your partner's lives. Like that's an extra layer of it. But I think they're a little unique. And I don't know exactly how those conversations and boundaries go, but I'll share a story of he invited me to one of his classes that he does for his business, and we were just gonna get dinner afterwards. And she also teaches the class with him. So I show up, and then maybe 20 minutes into the class, another man shows up and he sits next to me. We assume that he's somebody who's part of, their business and who's there to learn. And then it turns out that that's one of her arrangements, that she also invited an
What?
arrangement to watch this class. He invited me. And so we're like, oh, okay, nice to meet you.
Wow.
Here's what I'm curious about. So he does these classes on like what health and nutrition, but he's going off the grid for a month.
Yes.
What is he like on a secret health mission? What's going on?
I think it's a like meditation retreat. So
Oh, okay.
signed up for this program, and I guess there's different levels of it. You could do 1 week, 2 weeks, or up to a month. Maybe you could even do longer. And I'm not sure if going off the grid is part of that or a requirement, but that's what he's chosen to do. And I think for him, it'll be a good thing because if I've been busy, it's partly because I've been hanging out with Short King and his group likes to party. If you go out with him or he invites you for a drink at 9 p.m., for sure, you're not going to sleep until 8 a.m. There have been times where he's invited everybody back to his apartment and I'm dying. So I'm like, I'm going to bed. You guys keep hanging out. And then 6 o'clock in the morning rolls around and everyone's still there at the house, partying, engaging. I actually have a funny story about one of the times he invited everybody over. The apartment is like a loft, so the ceilings don't go all the way, or the walls don't go all the way up to the ceiling. So he's, a little drunk, comes into the room, we start fooling around, and we're trying to be quiet because it's a loft kind of space. and he decides to slap my ass, and that sound like echoed throughout the apartment, and we heard everybody else in the room like just silence. Everybody was quiet down, and we're like, oh shoot, maybe we can't move for a while until
gosh.
everybody starts talking again. But yeah, I think it'll be good for him. And we joke, we're like, we don't know what version of Short King we're gonna get when he comes back. Is he gonna be super zen? Is he not gonna wanna engage in this type of lifestyle anymore? Is he gonna really pull back on who he sees, what he does? So we don't know. We'll have to do a follow-up.
We had a similar experience with Kimmy. She went through a transformational training, and then she basically got off OnlyFans, which she was making 6 figures a month on, and she focused her life in a different direction. Now she's still with a sugar daddy, but yeah, we just really haven't heard much from her, huh?
Yeah.
Not lately.
She was supposed to be coming back to Scottsdale, and she came for about a week and went right back to her sugar daddy in LA.
Yeah.
So I thought she was moving back.
Well, she
She
moved
says
back,
she is.
but
Her stuff is here.
yeah, I don't know.
She wanted to get a live Christmas tree and put it in her apartment and then go for a month to LA and then come back. I'm like, that is not going to work.
Sometimes she has some ideas that we're like,
you've got to
Kimmy.
water a live Christmas tree. She's like, you do? Yeah, girl. Come on now.
Oh, Kimmy.
Stuff we learn as we get older. I guess the
Our daughter.
yeah.
She's a mess sometimes.
Yeah. So anyway, but for Christmas, she bought me the same program that she went through. So I'm actually going to LA actually next weekend and going to go through a 3-day. So I don't know. We'll see. And Alejandra is coming with me. She wanted me, her birthday is next week. And so she said, can you get that course for me for my birthday? So I don't know. From what I've read about that course, they kind of break you down and then build you back up. So I'm a little nervous about what we're going to experience.
I don't see you being very receptive to that program.
See, and then you have to be receptive too.
I can see Kimmy going all in, and I can see Alejandra going all in, but you're too much like me.
Yeah.
You are not going to like
I feel the same
someone
way. I'm already like
breaking you
really
down.
skeptical, really like standoffish about it. So I don't know. We'll see. But
This might turn into Lily's podcast afterwards.
I'm going to be on my own.
somebody asked me the other day, they said, hey, I'm a little worried. I think it was Bad Brad. He says, everybody's all hooked up here. And, you know, is this the end of the podcast? Since we're all, we're not out there sugar dating anymore. And like, no, we have
We're all
plenty to
coupled up.
say.
Coupled up, but we still got stories.
Oh, we still got stories, still got a lot of contacts. You know, our family is just growing and growing. I've got some letters. Matter of fact, I'm going to read those on Extra Sugar. Probably they've already come out since this episode's going to be delayed a few weeks. But I'm still getting great response from listeners, people who just found the show. Like, you know, we're 100 and, you know,
I'm editing 134.
yeah, and then plus all the extra sugars. I think we've got over 180 things that you can listen to, and people are just finding the show and becoming listeners. Matter of fact, I'm still on Bumble, and a girl matched with me the other day. Oh, I got a funny story to talk to you about that too. And anyway, so then I actually liked her or started following her on our Instagram account, the podcast Instagram account. She's like, you have a podcast? Anyway, so she started asking all these great questions, is super intrigued now, and just wants to know more. So I'm still out there, still trying to get listeners. But I saw this thing where a guy, he was 5'9" or 5'10". He changed his height to 6 foot on Bumble. His matches quadrupled. Just all he did was change it by 2 inches. So since I'm not out there actively searching anybody on Bumble, but I still have a Bumble account, and actually it talks about the podcast in my Bumble account. A couple days ago, I upped my height to 6 foot. Yeah, the response is some girls have filters.
Oh yeah.
We won't even see you if you're under 6 foot. They won't even see your profile.
What happens when the guy you meet up on a first date?
Well, see, I'm not meeting them.
5 foot. Well, the guys who actually do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
5'9" shows up. I'm like, wait, I
know.
thought 6 foot was showing up.
Yeah.
This is not cool.
I don't recommend that if you're actually
No.
going to meet them. But I was in a position to be able to test the theory out. I'm going to
Yes.
have to say, so far, the theory is proving true that 6 foot is a magic number, which sucks.
I would agree with that. I mean, as much as I don't care about height, I am now focusing more on men that are taller than me just because I've had all the short kings before. Now I want somebody who's a little more taller, and there's something about that body type that makes me feel more feminine. So I'm like, I want to experience that.
But see, this is pertaining to the vanilla dating apps. In the sugar dating apps, you don't care, do you? What height
Well,
they
I
are?
actually just put my filter on to exclude anybody under 5'9".
You
just because I
did?
I want to see. I mean, but if somebody reaches
Alaina.
out to me, we'll see. But I've already got my short king slot
That's
taken
true.
up, so
That's true.
there's no more room for
No
any
more short kings.
No,
It's because no one else could measure up to short king.
short king in stature, but large king in
Yeah.
every other aspect of his life.
Yes.
All right. Well, we are coming to the end of our time slot in this studio. Man, I'll tell you what, Pod Populi is getting very busy. Sometimes we could, if the conversation was going great, we could go over a little bit, but they have people waiting to record
Waiting in the wings.
podcasts.
for
Podcasting
them.
has become very, very popular. It's really funny how it's almost like you can create your own show. People from the entire world can download it and hear it, and that's what we're experiencing. So I know you had talked about maybe doing your own podcast one day. Didn't you talk about that, or was that somebody else?
No, that may have been somebody else. I enjoy being on podcasts.
I just remember how amazing you were being on our podcast for the first time, and Lily and I were just both in shock on how composed and well-spoken you were. So we're glad to have you back.
Thanks. Well, maybe if you come back from your retreat all zen and not doing the podcast, I'll fly down and be Lily's co-host.
There we go.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
All right. Well, if you want to share your crazy sugar dating stories, go to our website at secretsofasugardaddy.com and follow us on Instagram. Message us there. Lily and I both get those. And then also, too, we'd love for you to become a VIP supporter of the show. Go to patreon.com/Secrets of a Sugar Daddy podcast. It's $10 a month, and you'll get to hear all the new episodes before anybody else and some other goodies we're throwing in there. All right, Lily, anything else? I think we covered it all.
Bye-bye
All right.
for now.
Alaina, once again, thank you. We'll talk
Thank
to you
you.
soon. All right.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to connect or even be on the show, we'd love to hear from you at secretsofasugardaddy.com.